Hello again. In my last video I exposed the massive security breach that the Dutch government have been covering up since June 2011. The breach affected some of the world's most important organisations. For full details I'll leave a link in this description so you can see the first movie. In this movie I intend to name and shame the various organisations who have joined in with the Dutch government's cover-up of what actually happened and how the security breach occurred. The individuals concerned, from the European Commission, the World Health Organization and the United Nations Development Programme, deserve to be named and shamed. They are actively helping to cover this up, which is disgraceful. Alright, let's start with the European Commission. The European Commission, I'll put up the email here. I've just noticed that's difficult to read. I'll zoom in again so you can actually read the text easier. You should also notice that I've crossed out one name. There's only one person from the media actually bothered to communicate with me in the last 3.5 years, so that person's identity is going to be crossed out, at least for the moment. Okay, I've printed the email out and blown it up a little bit so it should be easier to read. You can see from this that on the 4th of April 2014, this year, I contacted the main office for the European Commission in the Netherlands in Den Haag, or The Hague as we English call it. I also copied in lots of English EU staff. Jacqueline Miner, Colette Fitzgerald, Graham Blythe, David Hughes, and of course I copied in UKIP as well. I've had no reply from anyone, not even UKIP, which is strange, but regardless. I also copied in, you'll notice, Channel 4 television in the UK. I've worked with Channel 4 before, about 7 years ago, to expose a security breach at Orange Telecom. The fact they haven't got in touch at all would make me suspect they're not allowed to get in touch with me. Again, super injunctions are a new nightmare that's just make it so easy for them to cover up any criminality. I also copied in Mr. Glenn Beck. By this point I'd got sick of contacting Alex Jones, he never replies. So I decided to try Glenn Beck. Notice he is also copied in. I basically just outline what has happened, that a laptop was lost, which can do damage to their network, and that it was not reported. I'll show the bottom half of this mail now. In the second half of my letter to the European Commission, in case you can't read this, I explained further what happened. The Dutch military intelligence had given high security contracts to companies that didn't have any security in place. I also notified them about my protest outside of Dutch Parliament and asked them, you'll notice, why is the European Commission allowing the Dutch government to cover this up? Do you not care about the data protection and the safety of your staff? They have never replied, so here we are, 6 months later. These people are paid by our taxes, they should be accountable, but in reality they are not. Next I contacted the United Nations Development Programme to ask them why they're helping cover this up. You'll notice I've again copied in Channel 4 television from the UK and writers at Infowars.com, which is Alex Jones's radio company. Alex Jones always encourages his listeners to expose corruption, and then when they do, he refuses to speak or communicate with them. Alex Jones, oh my goodness. This is still difficult to read, so I shall zoom in and make it easier. This should be a little bit easier to read. You'll notice this was sent on the 7th of April 2014. I basically just summarised what had happened and asked the UNDP why they are allowing the Dutch government to cover this up. It did affect all of their staff at all of the remote sites. This is ridiculous. Here in the second part of the letter you will notice I ask a direct question. Do you not care about data protection of your organisation and the safety of your staff? I also offer to send them a copy of all the documents relating to the security breach. 6 months later, no one from the UNDP has come back in contact with me. Now if we take a look at the email that was sent to the World Health Organization, again this could be difficult to read, so I shall zoom in and make it easier to read the text. You can see that my letter to the World Health Organization was sent on the 8th of April 2014. I copied in 4 different staff from the World Health Organization, their names are listed above. Again, Channel 4 News. Again, Alex Jones's InfoWars. As you can see, I give the WHO a brief summary of what has happened. I notify them that I've told the Dutch Prime Minister, and the cover-up continues to this day. This was 6 months ago, and no one has got back in touch with me. They have no intention of getting in touch with me. Here in the second part of the letter, you can see again I offer to send them a copy of all the documents relating to the security breach and just ask where to send them to. 6 months later, no reply. I used to believe in Mr. Alex Jones, the TV and radio show host. I used to think he's actually part of the resistance. But as he's known about this for more than 3 years and never replied to my emails or returned my telephone messages, he's behaved as if he's actually working for the NSA. Is he real, or does he actually just take IP addresses and bank details for the government? I used to believe in Mr. Alex Jones, but now I'm absolutely convinced he is fake. He is not part of the resistance. He works for the New World Order. Very disappointed. You will notice Glenn Beck wearing his Masonic logo on his jumper. The very idea that a Freemason is going to lead the resistance against the Masonic New World Order. His credibility disappeared as soon as I realised he was in fact a Freemason. In part 3 of this expose, I intend to contact the British Home Office to find out why they are still collaborating with the Dutch government in the cover-up of a security breach which affected thousands of their soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. I shall also contact the UK Independence Party and see if they can find out what's happening with the EU, why the European Commission is going along with this. Try not to get downhearted by the New World Order. Ultimately, there's an awful lot more of us than there is of them, and collectively, we will be victorious. My name is Gary John Quinn. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.